Hey, everybody, welcome to Love and Reload, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I'm so blessed and honored to be here with an amazing group of people here. We've got Ursula Lepporoli from KPMG Australia. Hey, Ursula, how are you?
Morning.
Hey, good morning. And Keryn Mendes from Australia, the Global Mobility Manager in Australia, the illustrious Keryn Mendes. How are you, Keryn?
I'm fantastic. Much better for seeing you again, Ben. How are you?
Phenomenal to see you. I'm well. Thank you very much. Always better when I see you. Ashleigh Dowling from Monash University. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks, Ben. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm
Glad to
fantastic. Look at
hear.
us. Look at us. We got 4 people on today. This is great. We're going to be talking about the global mobility sustainability case competitions that have been going on. And we've talked a little bit about this from a US centric standpoint. But this year we got crazy and people just like it went global
We
all
took
of a
it.
sudden, which is like the point, right? Of global mobility, right?
Kind of.
Yeah, so get in the comments right now. I want to know who you are, where you are. If you're watching this anywhere in the world, let me know where in the world you are. Check in with us. Hit that like button. I want to go around the horn real quick and just ask my guests, where are y'all today? Ashleigh, where are you today?
I'm currently in London.
London, I've heard of it. Very nice. Excellent. And Keryn?
I'm in Melbourne, Australia, as always. Similar weather to London, so just a different place.
Just slightly down the street. Very nice.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Ursula?
Morning. I'm in Williamstown, which is on the other side of the bay from, I think, Keryn. I think you're on the other side of the bay.
Yeah, you're on the other side of the city from me. She's
Yeah.
on the west side. I'm on the east side.
Wow, I got to brush up on my Australian geography. I'm ashamed to say. This is great. We got people checking in from all over. We got Adrian Grimes, Glomo HQ in the house in Dallas. What's up, Adrian? Good to see you. Hit that like button. Sherry Venezia from San Francisco Bay Area. Good to see Sherry. I was actually at an event in San Francisco a month and a half ago, and Sherry rocked up to the event with a Love and Relo hat on. I was like, how beautiful is that? Look at this. We got people representing from Australia here. Hit that like button. Fantastic. I think that's Luz there. Fantastic. Awesome. Okay. Well, you got to give me real quick kind of a background for everybody who may not be familiar with these initiatives. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with these case competitions and what inspired this kind of growth and expansion.
Yeah,
I'll
sure.
start because it really started with Keryn. She asked me to lunch, and it all happened from there. So I'll let Keryn give the information because it really is her brainchild.
It did start from one idea, but I've got to say there were lots of people along the way that contributed to it to made it to what it was today. And one of those key people is Ursula, of course. So yes, we went to coffee or lunch, and I think I had my 6-year-old there at the time running around. And I was like, hey, I had this idea about kickstarting the conversation, particularly in APAC, around sustainability. First, we started with ESG, and then we realized that elephant was kind of pretty big, so let's break it down. And so let's focus on sustainability. So in APAC, we're doing bits and pieces in our respective organizations, but as an industry, we're not talking about it a great deal. So like I do often when I get fired up about something, I run off and do some sort of initiative. And this was no different. So I said to Ursula, let's do something. And she's like, it's a really good idea. And I'm like, there's this really cool mobility club at the University of Texas, Dallas. And Ursula's like, there's a mobility club? This is amazing. And
Common
like,
reaction, by the way.
I know. So I was thinking about like tapping into them because they do some really great initiatives already. And she's like, actually, Monash University, which is an Australian-based university, Ashleigh, correct me if I'm wrong.
You're correct.
She's like, thank you. She's like, Monash do some initiatives, not specifically mobility, but they do some initiatives with corporates. How about we chat to them? And I was like, how about we do a competition? This will be fun. So originally it was just supposed to be US versus Australia. And then we realized that the Monash University model that they have actually includes Asia and the UK. And so before you knew it, we had a global initiative on our hands. So Ursula, I don't know if you want to go off the back of that.
Yeah, look, I love a good competition, and it all just fell in place where we had. The next step was it really even grew bigger than that. So I'm talking to Keryn, she's talking to Kerwin. Things are happening. Suddenly we've got volunteers who are willing and able to actually give more insight to these students. The ones in America, they had an idea of what global mobility was, but some of the ones from the other universities, they had no idea. So we gave them a 101 session, but then they had to kind of go somewhere from that. So we had volunteers who from the industry who actually like sat down and coached them and mentored them along the way. And then we had to get judges, and Keryn and just like found all these judges to volunteer their time. So what started as this little kernel of an idea, over some food and drink turned into something massive.
Well, kudos to you for taking it from the drinks to reality, because a lot of times things die after the drinks, right, wear off. You're like, oh, that was a terrible idea. No, this is great. This is fantastic. And shout out to Kerwin Guillermo, by the way. If anybody wants to make something big, talk to Kerwin and he'll figure it out. All of a sudden it'll be staffed and resourced and properly planned out and everything.
100%.
And then they'll hold you accountable until it's done. And you're like, wow. Yeah. How did that happen? Shout out to everyone watching right now. Get in the comments. I want to know what you're thinking. If you have questions about this case competition, or if you participated or supported it, get in here to support now. Tom Bruin says, hey, Ben, great to see you supporting this fantastic initiative. As you know, we're both proponents of all things ESG and DE&I and A. What's up, Tom? Good to see you there. John, hello from Canada. Great. We got all the countries checking in here. It's fantastic. Ryan Clevenger. I think Ohio's a country. There you go. Very good. Good to see you. Ryan, a little U.S. joke there. So anyway, so let me ask you, this was kind of the first year of kicking this off and Monash University and the other university that you mentioned. UTD's been doing it for a couple of years now. So they have gone through some of the bumps and bruises along the way and figured it out as they go. What was one of the things that was maybe most surprisingly challenging about launching this kind of initiative?
It's a good question. I think first and foremost, as Ursula kind of touched on, most of the students that participated, so like I'd say 60% of the students that participated had no idea what global mobility was, like most of us when we get into the industry. And so for us, upskilling them was, we gave them a few hours of kind of one-on-one, but how do you kind of pour 16 years of experience into 2 hours? Doesn't happen. So I think that was probably the most challenging piece, but that was also the beauty in the idea. And that's where we kind of wanted to not stop, because we, as Ursula pointed out, we did complement them with some mentors. And shout out to Sean Collins, Shuman Yeo, and Susie Chapman for playing that role throughout the initiative. But the idea was that we didn't want to overwhelm them or kind of, I'm going to say taint, but that doesn't sound too complimentary of global mobility, but we didn't want to instow too much of our knowledge onto them. We wanted to leave that blue sky thinking there, because they were coming from engineering backgrounds, IT backgrounds, legal backgrounds, general business backgrounds. Like, they were coming from every kind of direction. And so for us, whilst that was a challenge, it was also kind of the whole point of it was to tap into those other disciplines and bring that to the table. Ursula, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think that was definitely the biggest learning challenge for me, was how do you impart all this knowledge onto people who have no idea what it is? I think the big thing that I took away was there's actually a global mobility club at a university. Like when I was in university, I was doing things like DECA and things, which were great for marketing, and that was really cool. But I think, like, I wonder if I would have chosen this career if I'd been in the club.
If you would have known more about it, you might not have chosen the career. That's great. If I would have known.
She loves tax too much, Ben. She would have done this regardless.
That's great. That's great. So this is really interesting. We got people checking in as well. What's up, Vinny? Checking in from Oregon. Hey, Vinny, good to see you.
Hey, Vinny.
Mark Kennedy in Atlanta. Janet Turner from Central Florida. So let me ask you, kind of going back to the structure of this. So how many teams are in this case competition? How was it laid out?
Yeah, so we had 4 universities participate. So we had Monash University in Australia, Monash University in Malaysia, University of Warwick in the UK, and then the University of Texas Dallas, which is where the UTD Global Mobility Club resides. So we had those 4 universities, and then we broke them into 3 teams. And so I'll let Ashleigh talk to this a little bit, but I think obviously there were challenges from that perspective, because we also wanted to to give the teams their own kind of real world experience of working in corporates and cross-border corporates and global organizations, right? So they had time zone challenges that they had to work with. And Ashleigh, I don't know if you want to expand on that from that experience perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was probably one of the biggest challenges from my perspective, navigating the time zone differences. So in my team, we had 3 people from Monash, Australia, but one of them was actually spending that period in China. So that was perhaps an unforeseen extra time zone. We had 1 person from Monash University in Malaysia, 2 people from Warwick in the UK. And our mentor, Schumann, was based in Singapore. So we had a few time zones happening, and that definitely was a challenge when it came to organizing meetings.
So the teams were organized across universe. So it wasn't like I got 3 from Warwick, I got 3 from Dallas, I've got 3 from Monash. It was members from different universities on the same team.
Yeah,
That's right.
Oh, that is like
Just
a
to
real
spice
world. That's
it up a
real.
bit.
Yeah, really. That reminds me of like when you go into the military and the first day they give you sleep deprivation training just to kick it off, right? That's crazy. Yeah, but that is global mobility, isn't it? I mean, this right here is a example of that, right? I mean, I know it's hard to find that sweet spot of time zones where everybody's available and conscious.
But I think we had Luz, who I think is on the line as well as the coordinator from the Monash side. And I think everything comes together when you've got technology. So Keryn and I we used Teams. And so everyone was in a Microsoft team from each of the teams. And that was the way that they were able to connect and communicate. And it was just from afar, I don't know about you, Keryn, but just watching them all kind of like, when are we going to meet? And develop their plans and decide what was going to happen. Like watching that was really exciting. So anything is possible when you have technology.
So when you say like a Microsoft team, like it's kind of like a Slack where they're like in a group and they're chatting together, and then so you can leave a message, go to sleep, wake up, answers are there, stuff's there. Okay, very cool. So they're already learning how to work across regions, which is really cool. Now, what about the prompt? I mean, what were they given to start with? Like laughing, that knowing laugh there.
Well, it wasn't simple from an SME point of view. Ursula, do you want to walk them through that one?
Yeah, no worries. So we decided that you can't just give one answer around like relocation. We wanted it to grow across different areas of the business, how we can be more sustainable in all of these areas. There was lots of little areas of the competition that they had to respond to. So it wasn't like, buy some green credits, plant some trees. Like you really had to dig deep into it to actually get the answer. And I don't know how you want to work it, but maybe Ashleigh, you could talk about like how you approached it as a team, because we gave you lots of criteria. So how did you decide that you would approach it?
Yeah, it did feel like a big task when we were first given it. And we, delegated, as is helpful when you do have multiple people working together. So we had a couple of people focusing on each of those 3, I guess, pillars of global mobility that we were given. And then we brainstormed in, smaller groups, which was also a strategy to help with the time zone differences. It's easier when there's only 2 time zones to navigate. And then we would, brainstorm in a smaller group, then gather together and bounce ideas off each other as a whole and get feedback from our mentor, which was super valuable.
What was some of the solutions that you worked on, Ashleigh, in your group?
Yes, well, I think the one that was probably the standout solution was an app. We called it EcoTrip Pro, and it was targeted towards business travelers. And there were a few features that we fleshed out. Essentially, users would input details about meetings and timings, and then the app would, using AI, optimize their itinerary to create really efficient travel pathways to minimize carbon emissions in that area. We also, proposed that the app would provide details about sustainable accommodation and sustainable travel options once they're in their location. and perhaps could have some sort of incentivization scheme to reward employees for making those sustainable choices now that they had the information readily available to them.
Yeah, a lot of the submissions that were put in, Ben, were, and that particular one was really cool. And I think probably it was the standout, which helped Ashleigh and her team win the competition. But there was a lot of gamification coming through the submissions from the various teams, which was great to see. There was obviously an insight into what spoke to, I think, the next generation coming through. It wasn't simply just, the initiative itself, which obviously is very important around environmental sustainability, but they made it interactive and they made it gamified. And the Eco Trip Pro solution was a pretty cool presentation, actually. It's one that many in the organization have talked about. How do we commercialize this? How do we perhaps take this and commercialize it further within the global mobility industry?
We got some people checking in real quick here. Jack Jampel saying this is really incredible. Congratulations. Hit that like button, get in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts as the global mobility industry out there. What do you think when you hear some of these ideas? Are these real world solutions that you could use? Any questions you have for Ashleigh or the group? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And Ashleigh, I have a follow-up question about that though. Why do you think that gamification was a common theme in these solutions?
I'm really interested to hear that was a common theme. I hadn't really heard the ideas from the other groups. I think perhaps it comes from, just a generational inclination towards games and making things interactive. Making things fun. Maybe something about us having less attention span, I don't know, and needing, an element that makes things more engaging. And I think technology as well is something that people from Generation Z are very comfortable with, having really grown up alongside electronic technology. So I guess inevitably that was going to play a part in our solutions.
I'm curious though. Go. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, please. No, please.
No.
Keryn,
I was just going to say that the technology, obviously, over the last, however length of time, certainly while we've been in global mobility, Ben, it's certainly got a lot better from what we use to run our programs, but then also around tracking and following mobility movement. So like even the shipping companies right now, you can track where your shipment's going from one country to the next. It's got a lot better, and so why wouldn't we use that to make the smart choices? And this particular suggestion, and there were lots of other amazing suggestions, and we're happy to share the links to the white paper that we distilled after the submissions, but also the links to each of the results that are uploaded onto YouTube. We're happy to share those with the viewers. But there was a common theme absolutely throughout all of those around utilizing AI, utilizing technology, and leaning into that. But I think, as Ursula often says, AI isn't the solution to everything. The human touch is still absolutely valuable. So we just need to make sure that we're balancing that off with our services as global mobility professionals that we provide so well.
Yeah, it's a really great point. And if we can put the links to the YouTube videos into the LinkedIn chat so people can actually go reference those, that'd be awesome. I want to ask
for you. Is that all right?
No, the tables have been turned. The gauntlet has been thrown down. Go ahead, Keryn. You got to watch out when you have podcast hosts on the show. They start to get a little. They're like, all right, you know what? I got a microphone here. What's going on?
What's the US doing as a market around this space? What's the chatter?
I think around sustainability and mobility.
Well, maybe it's a question for the audience.
Yeah, you please bail me out, audience. What do you see happening in your respective region? I know we have a lot of U.S. folks on here, but we have people from other Canada represented. We got what are you seeing out there from a sustainability standpoint in global mobility, or your kind of your sub vertical of global mobility? Because I know it's kind of different from maybe corporate housing or shipping and moving, right? I mean, it might be different. But I'll while they start to put that together for me and bail me out, I'll take a stab at it. I think this is an area, if I'm being honest, that I think we lag behind, right? I mean, now if you want to look at total ESG, right, there's like a lot of elements of ESG. I think there's like 14 different sustainability initiatives, but and there's certain areas where I think we're doing great, and there's certain areas where we're not. And I think in terms of environmental sustainability, I think it's an area that the U.S. lags behind Europe, behind probably Australia, a lot of different areas in terms of that. I think that I don't think that sustainability has really overcome the profit motive here in the US. I was on the phone, I was on a call, a Zoom call with a corporate housing leader yesterday. And she proactively mentioned, as she was looking at kind of her go-to-market strategy with her team and where they're all located, when she had somebody who was in a different market, but all their clients were over here, they'd have to fly all the time whenever they'd go see it. And she's like, and I'm getting absolutely dinged like crazy on my sustainability spend. And I'm like, wow, you're actively tracking and quantifying it and reporting on it and obviously you're being held accountable to this. And you could hear the pain. And I think that's what's required in order to change behavior. It has to be more painful, to do something than to not do it, I think. And that's human behavior, going back to kind of like gamification and everything. So,
Yeah.
We're not there. I mean, at least what I'm seeing and hearing from my constituents here in the States, I mean, I don't think we're here, but I'd love to hear from people in the comments here. We've got some folks coming in here. Let's see here. Susie, I think there's still a lot of discussion on the topic with gaps remaining in the space of how we really make an impact. Yeah, we talk a lot about it, but are we there yet? I don't know. Janet's saying we have some accounts that are requiring us to report certain things and join organizations like EcoVardis. Yeah, but I mean, and how much of this is really effective? Like kind of like you said before, it's not just about buying carbon offset credits. How much this is actually making a difference? Janet says by reporting things like how much plastic was used, recycled materials, etc. Interesting.
This is good, Ben,
give us some tips here.
That was the whole point of this initiative, was just to kickstart the conversation. Certainly from an APAC perspective, I know it's going on in other parts of the world, so the Americas, EMEA, but for us, we were just a little bit too quiet on this front. So I think it successfully fulfilled its purpose in that respect. But beyond that, this initiative has sparked some really good offshoots of opportunities for some of the students in the team, particularly Ashleigh. Ashleigh recently just presented at the FEM and EMEAs under Kerwin's guidance as well. So there's been some really good things that have come out of this initiative.
Ashleigh, what was that like?
Yeah, that was a pretty amazing opportunity. Also just the opportunity to attend the FEM conference and meet so many global mobility professionals was amazing. And presenting to the room was a bit nerve-wracking. And I was again competing against a team from the Global Mobility Club in UTD, which is always a bit intimidating when you're up against the Global Mobility Club. But it was a really amazing opportunity. And I will also give a shout out to Susie Chapman, who I saw in the chat. She helped me and mentored me through preparing for that presentation as well.
Yeah, Susie's phenomenal. That's great. Well, kudos to you getting up there and competing on stage. This is your second competition, I think, that you've won. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
When you reach our level, right, and you've been around as long as we have, you get to go on stage and just say things, and you're not judged. You're just like, everybody's a winner. You just get on the panel and we all get a little token of appreciation. We go home and pat ourselves on the back. Nobody says, Keryn was better than you, Ben. Ursula really handed it to you up there.
It was a bit brutal as well, because it was, audience vote, and they played suspenseful music, got all the audience to vote immediately after we presented, and then showed the poll on the screen.
Wow.
I find it as a parent, I find it really ironic when we think about the things that we subject younger people to that we would never subject ourselves to, right? Like, oh, it's great. Oh, Vinny corrects me. We always judge you, Ben. Well, thanks, Benny. I appreciate it. Thanks for caring so much.
Ben, I think Keryn passed me to talk about the competition, and I kind of talked about the areas that we went, but we also wanted to make sure that it went across all aspects of mobility. So you had to talk about immigration, you had to talk about relocation, and you had to talk about tax. So I think that was probably another challenging aspect for the teams, is because I think relocation is the immediate one that everyone focuses on, and like you've just spoken about, I'm moving these people around, it's costing a lot, but to get creative about what we could do in the tax space or immigration was an even deeper challenge that they dug into.
Yeah, talk about the tax side, because I find tax just in the US to be daunting. I can't imagine, understanding the tax implications around the world and then of course how that plays into sustainability.
Yeah, look, I think the governments have a role to play. They can incentivize people to take action through the way that they tax people. So we had UTD, they came up with some tax grants and carbon offset programs, and even an AI-driven tax compliance tool. So I think it's one thing to come out and say, hey, use less energy, be better for the environment, but that governance piece at the end of how you're actually holding people accountable to that standard that you set is so important. And I think that's the role kind of governments have to play in keeping everybody to the same standard.
Are the tax credits and incentives there today, or is that something we need to work towards?
Certainly not in Australia, but not from a mobility perspective. But I think, look, yeah, we can all lobby to get it done, I think, in there. I will mention that I am wearing a dress that I got at a thrift market. So circular is something that we can all do every day. Like, we're all moving around. People move within their different locations, and you can choose wisely what you do with the stuff that you don't want anymore. You can donate it, you can sell it, you can give it away, you can do things. Each individual can do things. So it doesn't have to necessarily be Big Brother, Uncle Sam doing stuff. It can be them, it can be companies, but each individual can also do something to be helpful.
It's a good point. So the UTD Club, in their presentation submissions for this initiative, made a very important quote, and they said small and consistent effort is required from consumers, corporations, industries, and governments. And I think if we can push across all those four fronts, you're right, Ursula, like it's no one person's or one entity's responsibility. Yeah. Nice dress, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice.
Did you see what she did there, Ben? She got tax into the conversation. Did you see that?
I didn't see it coming, to be honest with you. I'm happy she did.
She's a master at it.
Really nice. Really nice. Yeah, that would be one of the more daunting disciplines. Well, and that's the thing that I marvel at too when we work with these students. Global mobility is so multifaceted, and if you put all those verticals against all like the countries that are involved horizontally, there's so many boxes on that grid, and how it all plays together is just honestly, from where I'm sitting, it's mind-boggling. So I find it really interesting that students can produce such high-quality work, and I think it's a testament to the mentors that they have as well. You got people checking in here. Gabby Bachhuber, shouting out Angie Weinberger. Yeah, thank you, Gabby. Appreciate it. Look at this, and Janet's talking about how she contributes. She's growing celery, chives, turnip seeds, acorn squash. Love it. Janet also has some dresses and things that she wears that don't require laundering as much. So there you go. It's real true story there. Super interesting. So where do you see this going? I mean, you've created this international rivalry amongst universities.
True.
What's next?
Well, we got to do it again.
Yeah, we can get more universities involved. I've had some kind of be like, hey, why didn't you select us? So we can grow that way in the competition and get more ideas. But I think we're also now kind of moving on to more letters in ESG. So we're moving on to S in January. Again, another partnership with Monash, where we've got students over a really tight period, 3 weeks in January. We'll be coming up with ideas how we can create more equity across mobility, which is a topic that I love talking about. But we'll stay focused on the E for this episode. But yeah, I'm sure you'll want us back when we have some ideas on how we can create more equitable, diverse futures for our mobility programs.
Yeah, I definitely want you back to talk about the the social and the equity part as well. I want to ask you, going back to something that was talked about with creating these incentives to change behaviors. I'm always fascinated by what I perceive, and maybe it's incorrect, to be a bit of a tug of war or conflict between what is environmentally sustainable and what is most cost effective. And sometimes when these things are, aligned, like buying a dress from a thrift store or growing food and stuff like that. But a lot of times it costs more money to be environmentally sustainable. And we think about gamifying people to make good decisions. We've kind of played with this a little bit with different policies where it's like, okay, maybe you save the company money, maybe you get to keep some of that, maybe you get to spend it in other areas, and there's different types of policies around that. How do we see the gamification, the adding in of environmental incentives? How do we see that playing with the incentives to save money?
I think that they already exist in a way. So people want flexibility, and you'll hear about core flex programs and whatnot. So I think if we offer benefits that people want and then encourage them to choose the greener options, I think that a lot of them will just make that choice automatically. So for example, in Australia, we have a fringe benefits tax that applies to certain non-cash benefits. So do you give somebody money to buy a whole new set of furniture when they come to a place? Or do you encourage them to rent so that when they rent their furniture, it can go to somebody else? Do you create programs in your company so that there's a community of sharing things so that when one expat leaves, it's not going to the curb, they're giving it to somebody else? So I think the future is in the flexibility that people actually want, and then encouraging them through tax incentives, or just, it's cheaper and we like it and it's easy. We have to make it easy. Then that'll just be the future that we've got.
I love the example about the furniture, because I've heard this before. Hey, instead of shipping stuff, maybe we just, buy new stuff at destination. We don't have to ship it. But I don't think it automatically means that the stuff at origin is repurposed. It might just end up in a landfill, and that would be terrible, because now we're just creating duplicity, or just double stuff.
Yeah.
What's the answer there? I know we have movers on the line. I'm really curious to hear, what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, and I think from a corporate side, I mean, we obviously, and I'll sort of talk broadly from a corporate's view, we do look to our partners to give us this kind of out of the box thinking, to provide us these alternatives, and to challenge us to look at our policies, look at our packages, more often than the static kind of every 2 to 3 years or every 12 months that you may look to review it. Because, we've got a full plate with BAU as well. These strategic decisions that we make and reviewing our packages isn't necessarily on the list every day, right? So if there are new incentives or new initiatives popping up, then absolutely bring it to us, because we don't necessarily always get that view. But from Ursula's examples point of view, I mean, there are lots of obviously great organizations within mobility and outside mobility that are kind of impacting in this space. So like IKEA, for example, they provide a program where you can buy back your furniture, for example, that is obviously purchased from IKEA, not just random furniture, but and then there's Move for Hunger, right? Like they do some work around this space. And shout out to Adam from Move for Hunger. Please come to APAC at some stage, Adam. But yeah, I think it's a collective view around taking some bold steps and moving the conversation forward, but one step at a time, rather than kind of waiting for someone else to do it. Ashleigh, I know that particularly within a HR function, we talk about a lot of the next gen coming through are making decisions about which organizations they go to based on their green decisions or their green goals or their sustainable footprints. Is there a lot of conversation at a university level around this? Like, what are you seeing from that next gen point of view around that?
Yeah, I think that I am seeing that, and not just sustainability, but across all of those ESG factors.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Gen Z have strong opinions and they do really value working for a company that share their own values. And yeah, they do highly value DE&I and sustainability. And so hopefully, as Ben was saying, even if it might mean extra costs for a business in taking some sustainable actions, it could be serving the business in attracting and retaining Gen Z talent.
Yeah.
Ashleigh, I want to stay there too. And as we talk about Gen Z, I want to work on my nomenclature. As we talk about Gen Z here, we go back to the stuff. I want to go back to the stuff question for a minute, because what I observe is that Gen Z may have a different relationship with stuff than previous generations have had. How do you look at the importance of moving stuff when we talk about relocation?
Oh, that's interesting. So what is your perception of Gen Z's relationship with stuff? Do you think they're less
I
attached?
find, okay, yeah, let's get into broad generalizations that are not based in fact. This is my specialty. I observe that I'm just gonna say Z because I don't know what Z is. Gen Z's relationship with stuff is that they prioritize experiences over possessions, and therefore have less stuff. Now it helps that they don't have a lot of like as big a homes or even homes, so they don't have stuff yet. So I don't know if this is how much this is age and just not having stuff because you're not old enough to have stuff, and versus and stuff will come when when you couple up and then you have children and bigger, get the house. I mean, because people are pushing those decisions off later in life, right? So I don't know how much of that is just like where they're at in their life, versus just really just mindset shifting.
Yeah, it's possibly a bit of both. I think you're right in saying that a lot of people in Gen Z really value experiences and opportunities to learn, and that possibly means that stuff can hold them back. But there's also possibly that factor of not having accumulated a great deal of stuff yet.
I think that the younger people, they do value those experiences. I went on a asking spree and asked some of our younger employees, would you prefer to have a bonus or an experience abroad and have a secondment? And they all chose secondment. So I don't think they want extra cash to buy more crap. I think they want to get out and do stuff.
How much was the cash to secondment budget 1-to-1 or was?
Oh, look, you're getting into a lot of detail that I didn't go into.
Right? I mean, you're in an accounting firm. I mean, I think it's fair to ask: is this a $10,000 secondment or a $10,000 bonus? Grossed up. I mean, what I'd love to know because I think when we start talking in real dollars versus like, oh, would you like to go here or get some cash? Like, I don't know. Like, how do you present it? I'm curious because
it was right after bonus season, so they'd already recently received
like this bonus. I would much rather go somewhere than get this bonus again. That's funny. That's great. Janet Turner notices that Ashleigh's so astute that she actually answered the question with a question. You will go far in life, Ashleigh. That's fantastic. I think that's the perception though. But all right, Ashleigh, we're gonna drill down. We're going all the way with this one. What is, if you could only move, if I told you could move one thing with you on your secondment, what would it be?
Oh, one thing. Can I bring my phone? Or is
Yeah, sure. Okay. How about this? One thing that's bigger than a small box. One thing that's bigger than this. Well, bigger than something a laptop would fit in or something like that. But what would that one thing that's kind of big be?
Maybe that's a tough question. I guess I'm going to be buying stuff or obtaining stuff while I'm there. Is that the assumption?
I don't know. I'm just curious. Is it a picture? Like, is it a TV? Is it a sofa? Is it like an heirloom piece or something like that? I'm just wondering like about your relationship with stuff. I'm trying to see kind of more practical terms. If there's a lot of stuff that you really put a high value on, or if it's all just like, whatever. It'll just be a furnished place where I go to.
Well, Ben, Ashleigh is from Melbourne, like we all are today. And if like any good Melburnian, she would have to take a coffee machine with her because the coffee anywhere else is rubbish.
I've
That's a
heard
good
that.
one. I like that.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Do we
But
think?
yes, perhaps something sentimental. Maybe a
Her
book.
big check, the
Yes.
big novelty check that she got from our competition.
So how are you
yeah.
spending all that windfall of money, Ashleigh? And do you have proper tax advice now to make sure you keep as much of that as possible?
Ben, you don't have to pay tax in Australia on your winnings. It's not like the US.
Wow. Oh, well,
A few.
okay.
I'm
Ben's
glad to hear
moving
that.
to Australia.
I like it. That's great tax advice. I'm gonna have to win everything while I'm down there.
Sorry, actually, go ahead. How did you spend your cash?
Well, maybe this speaks to the relationship of Gen Z with stuff. I think my favorite thing was actually the huge check that I got to take home, more so than the money and what I spent it on. But
But she carried it on the train on the way home.
yes,
Did people ask you about it constantly?
we had tactfully covered it up so it didn't say what it was, but I think
You didn't want them to
people
know
would.
you were carrying that much money around.
Exactly. I think I still hit a few people, but we got it home. And well, I think I ended up just spending it on something very practical. So recently, I have sort of had my own global mobility experience. I'm doing a semester exchange in the UK. So I bought myself some packing cubes, which I don't know if you've heard of them. They're very helpful. They help you like fit all your stuff in a suitcase. So I did have to bring and make those decisions about what stuff to bring over here.
Did you bring anything larger than a suitcase with you besides the check?
No.
There you go.
No, I fit it all in the suitcase. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard somebody from that's awesome, and I'm glad you only hit a few people with your large check, your ostentatious check. I wanted to ask you though, what are your thoughts on this? And I want to ask everybody from the panel this as we're kind of talking about relocation and stuff. Somebody from the corporate housing industry told me they believe in the future all furniture will be largely rented, that every place will be furnished and people won't really own furniture. Do you think that is true or false? I just want to go around. Let's start with true or false. True or false. And we got to put a time horizon on it. 10 years. 10 years.
I would say true.
Oh, look at this.
I would say false. I love my bed too much.
I'm gonna go with false with the time frame on that.
Okay. What's the accurate time frame, Ursula?
40 years, maybe.
40 years. She's like, basically not my stuff. Basically, as soon as my stuff's no longer relevant, when I'm dead, over my dead body, that's when you can have my stuff. Yeah, it's interesting, right? And then what's that date when somebody says, you know what, I'm gonna sell it all, and oh, by the way, who do I sell it to, and where does it go to relieve myself? Because it is, it's true. We become beholden to our possessions. They hold us back, right? I mean, all the stuff that we collect is also what keeps us from being ultimately as mobile as we could be. It's different when you have a relocation versus just a business traveler, right? So it's really interesting. I love. Is this a picture of the check?
Yeah. There's a picture of the check in that.
Ursula, you're amazing. You should produce my podcast. This is fantastic. Ursula's got pictures of the check on it. I want to ask, and we got some fun games to play here, and we'll get to those just in a second here. But I want to ask each of you to make, since we're kind of talking about the future of global mobility here, I would like to hear maybe one prediction about the future of global mobility that people might not expect. And Ursula, I'm going to put you on the hot seat first.
Oh dear. Okay. The future of global mobility. Look, I'm going to go way in the future.
Love it.
And I'm going to go, I think Australia tends to be a location that requires a lot of commitment because it's so far away. And so the future of mobility, I think, is going to be fast travel. So Elon Musk and co, they're going to sort it out, and it's going to take like an hour. And then you'll be in Australia. So it's just going to open up the possibilities of where you can go even more. So that's the future.
I love it. I love that. Look at that blue sky thinking. Fantastic. A+. All right. 1 hour travel to Australia, but only from Melbourne. Keryn,
Oh gosh, I think for me, if I think more kind of, I'm going to say practically, Ursula, not that yours is not practical. I think we're going to continue to see a decline, certainly from an APAC perspective, a decline in assignments. They're going to be overtaken by remote working and business travel. And I think one-way moves will continue to go up. And a lot of those will be fueled by employee initiated.
Oh,
Yeah, that's the trends for me.
love it. Employee initiated one-way moves going up.
Yeah.
Interesting. And how do they do that? Do they get support? Do they just Google it? What do they do?
Well, it depends on the organization. So I think initially a lot of organizations don't necessarily provide a lot of support, but I think that it'll tip at some stage where it'll become such a trend that organizations will need to provide support in order to remain competitive.
Interesting. Isn't it funny how the pendulum kind of swings back and forth, right, on this support
Yeah.
issue?
I think COVID has piqued the appetite of employees so much that there's no, I mean, we obviously know there's still a strong appetite for remote work anywhere. And then there's that competition with trying to get people back to the office and that push and pull that kind of still happens. I'm not sure corporates are going to win that battle, in the sense of, I think that the employees have got a taste for it and there's no going back ever.
Ever. All right.
Ever.
Oh, ever's the big
That's
one
my
there. It's all
call.
about time. Ashleigh, bold prediction for the future of global mobility.
I think I'm going to focus on like the cultural training aspect of the global mobility process. I think that maybe way into the future, we'll see less need for learning other languages. I think AI has really got a lot of potential to help us sort of overcome those barriers. I was recently at a mobility conference talking about AI, and they were showing us videos of someone talking in a language and AI converting that into another language, even moving people's lips so that they just looked like they were seamlessly speaking in another language. And I think there's a lot of potential for people to be able to skip the whole learning another language aspect and be able to hopefully integrate more seamlessly into a new country. And I think it's the same for other areas of the cultural acclimatization process. Like we're seeing virtual reality giving people opportunities to sort of immerse themselves in a new culture without having to go and have their look and see visit first. So I think maybe we'll see less, just sort of AI being able to fasten that cultural adaptation process.
Wow, really interesting. Good ones. All right, fantastic. Actually, when I was in the UK, was it last year? I was talking to actually Ben O'Henny up there, who was telling me that the most valuable company in the future is one that's working on beta testing, like the ability to upload information into the brain, and that language would want to be one of those things that would be instantly kind of like, all right, I want to speak Italian. Boom. You upload it, and now you can speak Italian. So anyway,
Cool.
let's have some fun. Y'all want to have some fun today?
Yeah.
Let's play a
Sounds
game.
good.
All right. Hit that like button. Let's play along. We got a fun version of overrated, underrated today. Now, do you know how to play overrated, underrated?
No.
Refresh us,
Okay.
please.
There's only two rules. Very simple. Okay. The first rule is I will ask you a category or a topic, and you will tell me if it's either overrated or underrated.
Gotcha.
Simple, right? The
Got it.
second is that I will tell you if you are correct. Okay, we have smart people. Smart people get the joke. Okay, here we go. Destination services, overrated or underrated? And this, I want everyone to answer. And you will each count for 1 point. And then my vote will count for 3. All right, so overrated, underrated. We are going to start with Ursula.
Underrated.
Underrated. Okay, interesting.
I moved from Sydney to Melbourne, and yeah, underrated.
Keryn?
Totally underrated.
Interesting. Ashleigh?
I'm also going to say underrated.
Now, is that because they said underrated?
No, she
Did
just
you-
went through the experience.
Did you use a DSP when you went to London?
No.
Thank you.
But I think I would have benefited.
Why?
Well, I guess there's a lot of things that don't cross your mind as someone doing it for the first time.
All right, fair enough. I'll let you off the hook. Underrated. Fine. Underrated. Good. 3. Okay, you each get a point.
We're correct? Okay.
Yeah, you're correct.
Yes.
All right.
Fantastic.
Just because it's a global mobility show.
Exactly.
All right, here we go. Next, cash. Overrated or underrated cash? You know what? And we're actually going to start this one with Ashleigh, aka Ash.
Overrated.
Overrated. Oh, I like that I stir the pot. This is great. Ursula, tell her why she's wrong.
Look, we in Australia, we had a large outage of one of our major telco companies, and people couldn't pay for anything because they didn't have access to technology. So I'm going to go with underrated.
Underrated. All right, Keryn. What do you
Well,
believe?
I'm actually going to ask for clarification. Are we talking about in the concept of global mobility? Because often when you get creative managers that go and give cash bonuses for people to go and do stuff, it attracts a thing called FBT, and it causes a heap of problems for global mobility. So
Well, we're not talking about that. We're talking about hard currency, Keryn. Okay, this is no easy outs here. Hard currency.
Fine. I would say probably overrated just because of COVID, and now it seems a bit dirty, and it's just nicer to
Dirty. It's always been dirty.
Yeah, I know. But now we're aware of it.
Literally, the only things people buy with cash are illegal things. Okay, I'm putting it out there. Okay, yeah. I mean, you know, listen, Ursula, you bring up a phenomenal point, right? The electricity goes down, the grid goes down, telecom goes down. What are we gonna do? But I still think, you know, give it 2 days and a loaf of bread's gonna be worth more. Look at that.
Cash.
Is that money?
It's
I don't
cash.
even know what that is. Okay.
This is colorful Australian money.
Okay. All right.
Ursula's got stashes.
Stashes of cashes. Okay. You know what? What do we say? We got cash overrated. Cash is king. Oh, this is a very divisive issue. You know what?
Look, let me add one more thing on the cash.
Yeah, sure.
I once did a post that said that no one needed any more cash, and the people from disability services came out and said, look, everybody can't use technology. What if you don't have it? What if you're a poor person, you don't have a phone? What if you're an elderly person and you can't get with all this tapping?
Yeah.
You had to go up to the heart. You had to go the emotional argument, didn't you? You had to go fine. You play the emotional card, you win. Okay, great. All right. It's cash is inclusive, apparently. Okay, fine. You win. Cash is underrated. All right. All right, next. AI, overrated or underrated. And you know what? It's important who I pick to go first on this, I think, because I can see the way this plays out. All right. I'm going to ask Keryn to go first on this one. AI, overrated or underrated?
I think it's underrated and underutilized.
Underrated and underutilized. 2 unders. Okay. All right.
We are from down under.
From down underrated. Okay. And Ursula, what do you think?
Look, I think
Look,
a
I
little
love look.
overrated because I feel like people still like people. I have yet to come across someone with a really complex situation who wants a robot to tell them about how their assets are going to get taxed.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Stellar point. Ashleigh, overrated, underrated AI?
I agree with Keryn that it's underrated and underutilized. And I would say that maybe in reply to Ursula's point, that it might not look like what we imagine, like a robot, but I think it's going to become very integrated with humans that it'll tell us what to say to that person, and so we can deliver it. But we're getting the content from AI.
Oh, look, there's too much bias. And like, there was something that came out the other day where some academics used AI to create a report, and the AI did it wrong. So I don't think that we're at a point that we can trust it yet. I think you're right, Ashleigh. In the future, we will get to a point where we can trust AI more. But right now, I think it's both of us together.
Put it in the comments. I want to know what you think. I read an article recently that stated that singularity, if you know what that is about 8 years away. The article might have been written a couple of years ago, which basically means we're all screwed. I'm going to say overrated just from that standpoint, not because it's not amazing, but because it might finally put us out of business as human beings. And yeah, I'm an old man. Okay, fine. I turned 41 yesterday. Fine. Okay. Yeah, I know that's a get off my lawn take. I'm just saying this one might be for real. That's all. Okay. All right. AI. Yeah, I'm going overrated for that very reason. All right. So next, folders in emails. Let's see here. Who is going to answer first on folders and emails? Ashleigh, take it away.
I think they're overrated.
Look at you. You just lost all respect from Keryn Mendes in that very moment. Did you see her face?
Said that.
I know. I think maybe it seems out of character, but I think that they're a waste of time.
God bless you. Ursula, do you take umbrage with this stance?
I just want to clarify. You're talking about organizing your inbox so that it's useful, right?
Or is it?
I think we spend a lot of time, and it's that now the search function is so useful. I think it's more efficient to find it just by searching. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't need folders. You just search for what you want. Why put it in a folder? Ooh, Ursula's like, I'm logging off. I'm done. I'm out. I can't deal with you people anymore. I'm out. Ursula, why are we wrong on this? Ursula, why folders and emails?
Look, I can understand, Ash, why you might have said that, because sometimes I put things in folders and I never go back to the folder. But it makes me able to sleep at night knowing that it's there in case I need it for future reference. We've all attached that email of like, I've sent you this before. Here it is.
Keryn?
So you're doing it so you can say I told you so.
No, that's just a fraction of the purpose.
Keryn's putting read receipts on her email. I mean, Ursula's putting read receipts on her emails.
Yeah.
Keryn, is it overrated, underrated, folders and emails?
Oh, you can tell from my face. It's totally underrated. So my inbox and then my folder category after that is a replication of what's going on in my brain. So if I didn't have that.
So if it says 0, what's happening in your brain, Keryn?
It's time to log off.
Well, so no, because I hear this, right? Messy desk, messy mind, or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, what does an empty desk signify? I am a messy desk. I'm a messy inbox person. I will just search for what I need. Yes, somebody might have to say, hey, I sent you this email. I never heard back. Okie doke. You got me now. No problem.
Is this like a generational thing? Everybody north of 40 needs a folder and everybody south? Or, oh, no, you're in the
41. I'm young at heart.
Maybe we need to 41 and north.
Okay.
Ursula, am I giving too much away about us?
I'm going to give you one bonus overrated right now. Overrated, underrated, over, under. How many unread messages do I have in my glomo.com email? The company, for your understanding, was started 2.5 years ago. How many unread emails do I have?
Well, based on what you just said, I'm going to say about 1,000.
Ursula says 1,000.
I'm going to be at 2,500.
2,500. Ashleigh?
I'm going to go 7,000.
38,736. Ursula can't sleep for a week. Yeah. No, my fellow under 40 is actually closest. She said 7,000, and she only went that low because y'all did. She was anchored, I think, by y'all. She knows. How many unread emails are in your inbox, Ashleigh?
Oh, not quite as many. I think I'm at 700.
Oh,
Ooh.
okay. What about your Gmail though?
Oh, yeah, that's probably a bit more.
How's
Yeah,
that search function going,
now we're
Ashleigh?
getting to it. Yeah.
Search function hasn't found me yet, but if it does, you'll be the first to know, Keryn.
It works. It works. I've had Gmail since 2004. I've never
Oof.
deleted anything. I got a warning that I only have 10% of my box left.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just, there's so much memory out here. I don't know.
I know.
I'll change
Ben,
my
I've
mind.
got a Hotmail address and I only have 10 unread
Oh,
emails.
Hotmail only has one server though. You can't put too many emails in a Hotmail account. Okay, they stopped buying servers back in 2008. So
I'm
very
Hotmail.
jealous.
I'm a Hotmail too.
You're
Ursula.
Hotmail too. What, were they running a
Old
sale on
school,
Hotmail
old
accounts out in
school.
Australia? Oh my gosh, you're actually giving them away. Okay, this is a lot of fun. Let's go around the horn just to finish it up. Who would like to leave us with maybe a final thought there before we wrap? Ursula, would you like to give us a final thought before we go?
Look, this has been great fun. I encourage other people to run their own competitions and then share the results with us. I think the more ideas we've got out there to learn from and adapt, the better.
Yeah,
Love
let's
it.
keep the conversation going.
Fantastic. Highly recommend you check out Keryn's podcast as well. She does really great stuff. Keryn, you want to plug your
Yeah, The Working World. So myself and Jamie Lingham co-host. Come visit us.
Yeah, awesome. Ashleigh, final thought?
Well, yeah, I'm really grateful to Ursula and Keryn for giving me the opportunity to partake in the competition, and the subsequent opportunities as well have been really amazing and have opened my eyes up to the world of global mobility, which I didn't really know existed beforehand. So that's been
Now
really
you can't
valuable.
unsee it.
That's exactly right.
Fantastic.
Not that I want to.
Excellent. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Hit that like button one more time. Tune in tomorrow at our normal time. We will have Alex Vantarakis from the Vant Group talking about mergers and acquisitions. Can't wait to have that conversation. Thank you so much, Ashleigh, Keryn, and Ursula for being here today talking about the mobility sustainability case competitions. Appreciate y'all being here.